You're probably wondering what appliances you really need in your kitchen. Today, I want to share with you my top 3 kitchen appliance must-haves. This list I'm giving you today is coming not only from my experience as a private chef, but also as a mom cooking for my family. Over the last 10 years of my professional experience and after using money on many appliances, I've come to the conclusion that this is all you really need in the kitchen, with the assumption that obviously you already have a stove and a fridge. For your convenience, I will make sure to link everything I talk about today down in the description. The first item on my list is a blender, but I'm giving you a very specific blender, not just any blender. This is the Vitamix. Now, I've gone through many different blenders, a lot of the ones that are highly advertised and they make them sound really nice. And sometimes they work for a little bit, but they end up breaking. Most of them. They just couldn't handle how much I was using it. I end up using this Vitamix every single day, several times a day, most days. I mean, it has changed what I use in the kitchen because I make smoothies, juices, all of my nut butters. I end up doing grains on it to make like oat flour, to make horchata. You can even make hot beverages like my cacao. Sometimes I make it in here if I'm making a big batch. You can make hot soups. I mean, there's just so many different possibilities that you can use. I also find that since I got the Vitamix, I end up using my food processor a lot less because this can pretty much do most of the things that a food processor can do. It's amazing. And because I use it so much with other appliances, they would have already broken down. And this one, after several years, is still working as the first day that I purchased it. And as you're progressing in your culinary skills, if there is something that maybe you want, like from a food processor, that it can do on its own with this cup, it has a bunch of attachments that you can purchase with it. So you can even progress with your skills by adding an attachment to it without having to buy an entire new appliance. So after all these years, I see why the Vitamix is worth every penny that they charge for it. The next item on my list is the good old KitchenAid. It is a classic. This is an item that I feel like I didn't really know I needed until I had it, because I couldn't really perceive how much time and energy, effort, and quality it would save me in the process of making many recipes. I end up using this to mix my dough when I'm gonna make tortillas. I use this for making bread. I use this for beating eggs or aquafaba. I use this for making pasta. I mean, there's just so many different recipes that I use with it. And the thing is, I didn't know I needed it because I used to do all those things before. I just didn't know how much time I was wasting when I could have just been putting it into the KitchenAid and doing it for me. It makes cooking and baking, I should say, a much more enjoyable process because you're not wasting so much time like sitting there and mixing and kneading and oh my gosh, like it just makes everything so much easier. I ended up buying the attachment for making pasta for this to make it even more quick. And I find that I actually end up hardly ever going out to eat pasta because I would much rather make it at home because I know it's going to taste that much better when my pasta is made by hand. But I know that it's not going to take me like an all-day process to make that pasta because this will get it done for me. Same with bread. I make easy bread recipes and it does most of the work. Whereas before, that was something that I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of want to make that. It just made it so much more dreadful. I also want to point out that I have just the classic version. I don't even have the most like top end. I've had this for I think over 10 years now, and it still works as it did from day one. These machines are made to last for a long time. And if then you decide I want to progress in my skills and you want to add attachments, you can just buy the attachments. You don't have to buy an entire other appliance for it. So overall, this is something that can save you time and effort and make just cooking so much more enjoyable in your kitchen. The last item on the list is a coffee machine. Now I'm leaving that kind of vague because I realize that coffee or tea to you might be something different than it is to me in preference. But I want to share with you the machine that we use in our home every single day, several times a day, and I would recommend it to anyone. And this is the Breville Barista Express machine. This is a machine that, yes, it isn't on like the low range of prices. It's a little bit of a mid-tier machine, but I honestly think it's worth every penny, kind of like with the other two appliances. Once you have this, you don't have to buy a bunch of things to make really good beverages at home. Before having the machine, we would use the Chemex, which I still sometimes use. We would sometimes use the French press, which again, sometimes we use, but we find ourselves not using them that much because sometimes we would get bored of the Chemex and we would still end up going out to a cafe and still wasting a bunch of money on sometimes not even the best of coffee. So since having this machine, we have saved so much money. We've already paid for this machine several times by the amount of money that we saved on going out to cafes. This machine is one that it comes with a built-in grinder. So you don't even have to buy a separate appliance just to be able to have fresh beans at home. Some of the other machines that are out there that are on the lower tier make you either have a separate grinder or you have to grind all your coffee before you come home, which is going to give you not the best of coffee. So you're probably gonna wanna go out to a cafe anyway. I feel like this machine just can make every single espresso beverage you can think of. And you can use it with the attachment that it has for releasing hot water for pretty much any tea. And you can use the frother for all of your matcha lattes, all of your other tea beverages that you might want to have really good milk with. So overall, I think we've had it for, like I said, 7 years. And it works so well. We've never had problems with it. And we love it. We make everything at home. It makes the process of like waking up and making a drink that is gonna be really good and that you're gonna love to your own personal preference. But also when your guests come over, now you can offer them pretty much everything that you would in a really fancy coffee shop. And it's all at home and it tastes delicious. So for that, I highly recommend this specific machine for your coffee needs. I hope that this list has been helpful, especially as the holidays are approaching, sales are happening, and you might be a little bit tempted to upgrade your own appliances. I'm curious, let me know down in the comments if there's an appliance that you think should have made it to this list. And if you're looking for some recipes to cook with your own appliances, I'll make sure to leave them here. Buen provecho.